Yeah, we know that's your head pounding away as you wake up from another night of overindulgence.
You wanted it to be a night of debauchery, but she wasn't going there. Because parts of you were too small, including your checkbook. Sorry, your checkbook.
Or just wouldn't work because you drank too much.
True. Yeah, why would you have to go in the gutter? I wasn't going in the gutter on that. I was going for checkbook. But you gotta make it a penis thing. There you go. I hope you have got the eggs and bacon going.
The coffee's brewing.
Because you know Saturday morning here, April the 27th, what time it is. It is time for your Saturday morning hangover cure.
Your favorite politically incorrect pop culture extravaganza.
It is time for Sports Frenzy 2.0, the weekend edition with your Uncle Dave, the Conquistador, Dave Height.
And your Uncle Kev, the Maestro, Kevin Crane.
So, of course, what do we always start off with, Dave?
It's all about the music, the rock and roll, baby.
And I can tell you, in 2 weeks, concert season begins. With a double header review in 2 weeks on the weekend edition.
What does they say? Double shock power?
Yes. And we're talking hard and heavy stuff. We're starting off the concert season with the hard and heavy stuff. Seether, Saliva, Fuel, Judas Priest, Sabaton. All of it.
Baby.
All of that and more in 2 weeks. But the weather's still freaking cold. This is what sucks.
It will turn.
Can't believe the heater's still on here in the studio. This is ridiculous.
It is. It's absolutely insane.
Late April and we still got the heater on. But
frost warning for us as well.
I can't deal with this. I can't. My God. My daughter's whining to me about her AC's broken and can't stand
freaking who? What is it, 70?
And, of course, humid down in Savannah, Georgia, so. And I've got my furnace cycling right now. I don't want to hear it.
But what you do want to hear are some of the songs that we have for you lined up.
Yeah, let's do some of the songs first, and then I'll get to Pearl Jam. Of course, I've got a review of Pearl Jam's Dark Matter, but Dave is not a Pearl Jam guy.
Nope.
So we've got 4 other songs to review, and we also have to discuss the 16 inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
God, this is turning into the NBA Hall of Fame at this point.
Yeah.
Where everyone gets in. All right,
you lead us through the songs.
I'm going to go playing catch up with The Effect, Toxic Envy.
Well, we never reviewed it, so.
Oh, all right. Well, this is from a couple weeks ago.
Right.
I was going to try and get done for last week, but.
Right. We held off on the review, so.
Yep. So The Effect, Toxic Envy. Not bad. One of the newer bands out there. Similar to Beartooth, who I reviewed their album a while back. Beartooth's hit and miss. They've got good stuff and they've got and this tended towards the better Beartooth stuff.
Yeah, now The Effect, if you don't know who they are, they have old school rock and roll pedigree in their genes, as the drummer for The Effect is Nick Collins, son of Phil Collins, and the guitarist is Trev Lukather, son of Toto's Steve Lukather. Now, I can't make the Beartooth comparison because I have never, to my knowledge, listened to Beartooth. But you can hear the prog rock roots.
It's
the Genesis prog rock roots are in there.
Yeah. It's kind of
lots of keyboards, heavy on the keyboards.
It's what some of the newer bands that aren't quite the full heavy rock, what they're.
I need some chili for dinner. That type of stuff.
And a little bit lower. They're more the middle.
TP for my bunghole.
Okay, Saturday Night Live reference.
I have watched that skit probably 5 times
I
in
know,
the last
it's
week.
brilliant. But anyway, it's that borderline metal rock, not down to the poppy level.
Now, do you listen to it or did you watch the video?
I listened to it a couple of times.
Okay. Do not watch the video because the video will ruin it for you, because my problem with the effect, they sound like they have potential. Let's put it that way. Let me give the rating first. Let's do the rating first.
Okay.
I will give it a solid 2.5 frenzies, because it's got a little bit of an earworm.
It is an earworm. I'm at 2.5 as well. I would like to hear more, but I'm also scared to hear more.
Right, and they already have other stuff out. I think Toxic Envy was actually the 3rd single.
Okay,
from their upcoming album.
To look at their other stuff.
I'll check and see when the album comes out. Maybe we just wait and review
We'll
the
do
album.
the album.
But the reason why I say don't look at the video is because the lead singer is one of those pretty boy, he got his job probably because of how he looks versus how well he sings.
He's a prototypical front man.
Yes. Yeah. He's David Lee Roth without the charisma and the chops. The big flowing hair, the shirt opened up to expose all the chest hair.
It's the Alex Lifeson Project singer where the studio heads had somebody in mind and they're forcing him into it type thing, maybe.
Could be.
Based on the looks.
Could be. Yeah, because he's your typical pretty boy frontman is what he is. And I did not think that his vocals stood out.
No, they did not.
Now, again, it could be the mix. Again, this is more of a prog rock mix to me, at least. So it's heavy on the keyboards. So the vocals aren't the most important part per se.
But the rest of it pulled it all together.
It wasn't bad. It
was decent enough to warrant further listening.
Yes, I agree with that. What you got next?
All right. Let's run rampant with Mr. David Lee Roth, Scotch and Sofa.
This is your typical.
This is Dave.
Post Van Halen, late 80s, 90s, cheesy ass David Lee Roth stuff.
This is an earworm.
With all the music he's put out,
Catch
and
Me
I wish,
Weekly.
number one, he'd put out an album. Put out an album. Put all this stuff together and put out an album.
No kidding. It would be entertaining. This is better than what the last couple that we've listened to.
Yes.
Which isn't saying a lot.
No.
Strong 2, borderline weak 2.5.
Yeah,
I'm generous.
I'm right with you on that. I'm really on the fence.
I loved it musically. Lyrics are very weak and repetitive.
It's got a little bit of his big band feel to it in there.
I really enjoyed that feel to it.
Yeah.
But it's an earworm.
I will give it a weak 2.5.
Yeah. So we're in agreement on that one.
Yep.
All right. Oh, well. Slash's latest with Chris Stapleton. Again, doing some of the Blues Project stuff. Guitar work was very solid. I actually did a deeper dive with this song and listened to Kenny Wayne Shepherd's version as well.
A lot of people have done this song, yeah.
And Slash metals it up a little bit more. I think I like the Kenny Wayne Shepherd more traditional blues feel to it a little better.
Now, I did not do that, but I am familiar with the original version of Oh Well. My point of comparison with this,
Stapleton's vocals.
Yes, because I'm trying to compare it to our first song off of Orgy of the Damned,
with Brian Johnson.
Brian John's Killing Floor.
Yeah.
This is almost the exact opposite to me in terms of we criticize Slash on Killing Floor for holding back on his guitar work and basically trying to do a paint by numbers. I don't want to do anything Slash like. I
Right.
just want to do the traditional, stick with what Howlin' Wolf did. But meanwhile, we were unbelievably impressed with Brian Johnson and his vocals,
Yeah.
and Steven Tyler and his harmonica. Now, I look at this one completely as a 180.
Yeah, where you take Stapleton's
Stapleton
lyrics
acts
are,
like he's barely there.
yeah,
And I
it's
know the song does not lend itself to a great vocal showcase for
no,
anybody,
it
but he
doesn't, but he
sounds like he's
butchers
bored.
it.
He sounds like he's bored beyond belief.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't even want to do it.
But then, like you said, the last minute, Slash lets go and just metals it up, and I loved that part of it.
Yeah. I loved the way he did the last part. The rest of it might be a little much, where he could have toned it back before letting loose. So it's still solid. His guitar work is still solid.
Yeah, again, this is
This
another. All these songs this week are going to be in this middle nether region for me. I'll tell you right now. So they're all comparable in terms of overall quality. This one, oh boy, I'll go again a week, 2.5. Because again,
yeah,
Chris Stapleton just doesn't bring it on this at all.
yeah, that he's the downfall to this
Slash
one.
brings this one up,
Yeah,
and Stapleton
if
brings it down.
Stapleton would have showed up, it would have been a solid 3.
Yeah, I can see that. And again, you've listened to the Kenny Wayne Shepherd. I love Kenny Wayne Shepherd, so I'm very interested to hear his version.
Yeah,
But of course, going back, I know the original from Fleetwood Mac.
So there you go. All right, bringing us to Collective Souls, Mother's Love.
The long-awaited first single from just less than a month away already.
Yeah, the
double album, Here to Eternity. They waited to the last possible minute.
Yep, and this felt old school Collective Soul. Like we've heard the music before.
Yes, if I can jump in. The first time I heard this song, when I heard the riff, I said, that's where the river flows.
Yep.
They've basically done is recycled the riff from where the river flows, changed the song up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that disappointed me. Now, here's the
did.
thing. You can disappoint me, but when you're taking one of the greatest songs of all time and recycling it, can't be all bad. Can't be all bad.
I enjoyed it. I liked the lyrics. Lyrically, they're going back to that old school original vibe, which I really appreciated.
Right.
And it hit well. I struggle where to put it because of the recycle.
Yeah, that's my problem as well.
It's definitely a strong 2.5, borderline week 3.
Yeah, you and I are going to bore the people this week because I think, again, we're completely in line on this. I will go a strong 2.5 just because I will penalize, even though one of my favorite bands of all time, I will penalize them for the first single on a double album being a rehashed guitar riff from Where the River Flows.
All right, now before you do your album review, I have a bonus song review. Something new that popped up in Spotify. The Commoners.
Okay.
They're considered Canadian roots rockers. The Way I Am is the single. Listening to this, it's a cross to me between the Black Crowes and Rival Sons.
Oh my God. You got me. You got me hooked.
This I really enjoyed. A very strong borderline 3 week, 3.5.
What's the song called?
The Way I Am.
Okay.
The new album, Restless, is out in June. I want to hear more.
That's got me roped in. And have we told the kids, by the way, we're finally getting to see Rival Sons?
Oh yes, we get to see them as the headliners. Finally. Three's a charm, as they say.
Yeah, we got some more concert tickets, kids. We're in double digits now. Coming this fall. Rival Sons with Clutch and Fu Manchu. And the great one is returning.
Roger Klein and the Peacemakers, baby.
Coming back to Bell's Eccentric Cafe in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
We will be taking my youngest, Nick, with us.
Yep, hopefully I will not get in a fight.
I warned him that if Patchouli Stink was there, we may get in trouble.
Yes, I will not put up with that again.
No.
I did it once. I cannot put up with it again. I will get kicked out just for the pure satisfaction of making that marijuana-headed hippie bleed.
Yeah, I can see that.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That does not happen with the maestro. So, hopefully they're both dead by now from drug overdoses.
It wouldn't surprise me.
No, it's been long enough.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, they're probably dead. Fentanyl overdose. And believe me, kids, I know there's problems with drugs. These two people that ruined the last show at Bell's with Roger Klein, they deserve to die. Sorry. They were awful people. They were awful scum of the earth.
They were bothering everybody in the vicinity.
They were bottom feeders in society.
Yeah, nobody was happy with this couple.
Sorry. I rarely wish death on somebody. These two people, yeah. The world would be a better place without them.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. All right, so we got the commoners to try to dig into.
Yes, I think you will enjoy The Way I Am.
And I know I am not going to persuade you or sway you on Pearl Jam, but
I do like the title track.
Yeah, well, guess what, Dave?
That was the best of it?
Pretty much.
Ooh.
Pretty much.
Ouch.
Not completely. Not completely. But I will say this, and there's a pattern here over the past 15 years with Pearl Jam. And we've talked about this with other bands that fall into the same trap. As they get lazy, they don't have the same drive. None of us have the same drive we had when we were in our 20s.
Right. That's why you have to take the low T enhancements.
Okay, Frank Thomas. Thank you. I didn't know I had the big hurt sitting next to me tonight. But the best of the best adapt. And they change. And they figure out a way, if they're going to mellow out, to make it still them. To keep the personality. To keep the hooks and the riffs that drew us in the first place, whether it's in the 80s or the 70s or the 90s or the 2000s.
Just don't be one of those bands that tries to do your epic piece, your magnum opus.
Well, in this case, it's the exact opposite. This is resting on their laurels, is what I would say is dark matter. We heard in the press, the rock and roll press, all they could say was, oh, this is a return to form for Pearl Jam. They're rocking back like they did on their first 3 albums, the 3 massive hit albums, 10 versus Vitology, which set the standard better than Nirvana did. Right up there with Soundgarden and their triumvirate of great albums. This is not a return to form. This is Pearl Jam throwing out the 2 heaviest songs as the first 2 singles. And then the rest of it is wandering, mediocre crap for the most part. Now, there are a couple exceptions. The first song, the title track, of course, awesome. Dark Matter, 4th track on the album. The lead-off track, Scared of Fear, is a little bit poppy, but I liked it. It had a nice, catchy guitar riff.
Yeah.
But you can tell that the band is behind this whole, let's tell everybody this is old. They start off with the sound of a whip. And I was like, I know this. And I went back to listen to Vitology. And they pulled this from the beginning of the song, Satan's Bed. Satan's Bed starts off with, whoosh. So this is kind of them saying, see, we're back. Old school 90s Pearl Jam. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Now, the one song, if I had to recommend one song to you that I think you would like, and that's it. I'm not going to subject you. The rest of the album, you would never like. But this is going to sound like an insult. It's actually a high compliment. Wreckage. The 3rd song on the album is called Wreckage, and you would think by that title, this is like a melt your face off, Pearl Jam, Alive even. This sounds like Pearl Jam doing Hootie and the Blowfish.
Really?
It's so catchy and so infectious, and it's an earworm that you will not get out of your head. So when I say Pearl Jam, the rest of this album is all mid-tempo garbage. They have done mid-tempo stuff. I went back and listened to Vitology today. Not just because of the whip and Satan's Bed, but I just wanted to listen to old school Pearl Jam and see, what am I missing here? Am I misremembering the old stuff that I loved growing up in my 20s and 30s? Better Man comes on. And I'm like, God, this is an unbelievable. Yeah, I know you don't like it, but I love Better Man. But that's a mid-tempo song that is a brilliantly constructed, brilliantly performed song, and they just can't find that magic again. They cannot, as hard as they try. Most of the songs like that on Dark Matter are failures. The only ones that work in that realm are Scared of Fear, Wreckage, and Waiting for Stevie.
All right.
Then again, the title track is awesome. I set that aside as something different. That is old school Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
A weak 2.5 frenzies.
Ouch. And I know that pains you.
Yes. The 11 songs, the last 3 songs.
Throwaways.
Throw them away. They're worthless. And I'm surprised Amazon, on a side note, I reviewed this. I rarely take the time to review stuff. Now, when I do, I put together a brilliant and thoughtful review, of course.
Of course.
And I did that
edited
with Dark
4
Matter.
times before it hits.
I did this with Dark Matter. I actually wrote a review for Amazon, and I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And I thought, they'll never let this through. They vetoed me before because I was too negative. They got it. They pushed it through. So it's out there.
Really?
My review of Dark Matter is on Amazon under Maestro. So there you go.
All right. Very
so I'm
cool.
trying to bring the truth to you people about this stuff.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yep. So now it's time to discuss the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I had to print it out.
You mean the Music Hall of Fame?
Let's put this out there. Yes, it's ridiculous that there are 16 inductees. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I will point out one that's an insult. An absolute insult. But in terms of the bands that were up for the vote, the fan vote, the ones that were out there, I think they this might have something to do with Jan Wenner being gone. Is I think they tried to make a lot of amends here. Because they put in Foreigner, they put in Peter Frampton, they put in Ozzy Osbourne, they put in Dave Matthews, they put in Kool and the Gang, they put Cher in. So they pretty much...
They are making up.
The only one... Now, you voted for Lenny Kravitz, which I would not. But I voted for Oasis.
Oasis should not get in there.
They also put in... Now, this is where they had to do their obligatory... Yeah, like you said, we're not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the Music Hall of Fame crap. Putting in Mary J. Blige and A Tribe Called Quest. But the interesting part of this, and again, a backhanded insult. Remember a few years ago when we were pushing and pushing and pushing for Judas Priest?
Yeah, and they put him in a special category.
Music Excellence Award. Guess who got it this year?
Was that the one they gave Buffett?
Yeah. After he died.
Absolute crap. He
died.
He should have been in early on.
Again,
as a regular inductee.
This backdoor crap they pull.
The bullshit.
Well, we can't really get enough people behind you, but we'll figure out a way to get you in because we know you really should be in. But we're too cowardly. We're too cowardly to actually
put you on the ballot.
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't realize Jimmy Buffett never made it to the final cut. Never.
And that's on Jan fucking Wenner.
That's why I'm saying I think this whole class is a lot of it's make good for the fact that that piece of crap is gone now. So, in a certain respect, I will give the current voters and the current board credit.
Some semblance.
Now, let's see what happens next year. Do we see Styx? Do we see REO Speedwagon? Do we see Boston? Do we see Iron Maiden? Do we see Soundgarden? Do we see Alice in Chains?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's like an entire class that should be in.
Should be. But yeah, other inductees who got in the back door.
That's what she said.
Don't say that about Dionne Warwick. Come on. Dionne Warwick, Norman Whitfield, Alexis Corner, John Mayall, Suzanne DePass, Big Mama Thornton, and the MC5 got in.
Okay.
Yeah.
None of them do anything.
But again, 16 get in. You get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's why next year, all those bands I mentioned better goddamn well get in. Or soon after.
Yeah, they'd better be coming shortly.
And I see the critics go, man, this is just them saying that they don't have enough good current music acts, so they have to go back in the past.
Bull crap.
No, they're making it right. Because these bands from the 70s and the 80s that laid the foundation
should be in. And yes, it's an indictment on the music today that there isn't anybody worthy.
All right, and one last thing with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Because if you guys have been listening over the last month or two, I think you know, at least for me, I don't want to speak for Dave, Foreigner was the one band. Foreigner needed to get in. And this was the one band that Jan Wenner had blackballed for years and years and years.
Because he's a pompous little prick.
He had some kind of little bitch fest going with Mick Jones. Foreigner deserved to be in, and I am ecstatic that Foreigner is in. Now, the problem is, why do we keep emphasizing the fact that there are 16 inductees? Because, do the math, kids. Unless you're going to pull an all-night festival at the induction ceremony.
How is everybody going to get to play?
There you go, Dave. Lou Gramm came out here recently He's been invited, obviously, Foreigner. He will be part of the inductees. Now, the newer incarnation with Kelly Hansen and Jeff Pilson will not. It's going to be the original Foreigner lineup.
As it should be.
So
And
Lou Graham,
kudos to the new guys for allowing the
keep,
originals to take the lead.
right. So Lou Graham's been discussing this. As you mentioned, time limitations. Normally,
Everybody gets one song.
In the past, you would get 3 songs. They are saying, Foreigner, you get 1 song. And Lou Graham has said, I have been told what the 1 song is, and I am not happy. So he's trying to figure out ways to slice into the tributes, because part of the time allotment goes to people on stage giving their tributes, talking about the influence that Foreigner had on them.
We don't need the tributes. I'm sorry. Let them play.
Guess what the 1 song is?
God, do I even want to?
What's your least favorite Foreigner hit? I know what it is for me. So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that figures. Now, let's say Lou Graham wants to.
Does he want to do Dirty White Boys?
No.
Hot-blooded?
He wants to do Jukebox Hero.
Oh, Jukebox Hero. Yeah, there you go. That should.
But right now, they are slated.
Cold as Ice.
Oh, God, Cold as Ice would be better.
Oh, Lord.
They want Foreigner to do I Want to Know What Love Is.
Oh, fuck no! No. Hell to the no.
Yeah, that's
no.
And Lou Graham is saying that is not the song that should define us as a band.
No, that is their worst song.
Doesn't matter how big of a hit it was. Doesn't matter how big of a hit it was.
No, that is not Foreigner.
Nope. I'm with Lou Graham on this. So he is trying to...
Jukebox Hero. Boom.
But I guess he's stuck with that 1. He's trying to find a way to whittle it down so they can do 2. So they can at least do both.
You know what? Peace out, bitches. I am not doing that. Sorry. There's principalities involved with this.
You guys go online.
You do not dictate to us what we're playing.
Yeah, but
we
supposedly
dictate to
Jones,
you.
Mick Jones loves that song.
Oh, Mick, you idiot. What are you, going senile?
And you just got to go out there and read Lou Graham's comment.
That's a bathroom song.
Yes. It's like Open Arms, Can't Fight This Feeling. Yeah, bathroom song.
Any of the Aerosmith, Alicia Silverstone songs, bathroom songs.
And you gotta go out there and look at the Lou Graham interview, because he puts it out there like we would, and he says that song should not define Foreigner. It needs to be Jukebox Hero. It needs to be something more like that. We are not this wussy little ballad band.
No, that is not.
And he kind of gives a little backhanded slap to Mick Jones about that.
And basically rightfully so.
Basically saying Jones was the one that pushed all the ballads. And Graham wanted to rock. Even though Graham's voice, Graham had the chops to pull it all off.
I can see that.
Yep.
No, no ballads. No ballads when you're doing your induction performance.
All right, let's change things up a little bit, Dave. Let's go to TV and streaming first, because we don't have a lot on that this week.
No, let's do TV and streaming on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy, baby.
Otherwise known as, of course, iHeartRadio. Yes, and Google Podcasts have gone away. Officially. Don't forget to check out the Facebook page, where you can find links to each and every episode of Sports Frenzy, the weekend edition and the sports edition. One guarantee, it's all politically incorrect.
Damn Skippy.
Fuck yeah. All right, so we had our wires crossed a little bit last week.
Yes.
We actually could have done a dual
Resident Alien
season 3
finale recap. I thought there was one more. There was not. I am remiss on that.
No big deal. So we'll real quick revisit that and talk about that. Um, and again, I'm the one thing I'm kind of surprised that you didn't pick up on where I was going and realize that's what I was talking about, was that final episode disappointed me because it kind of harkened back to the disappointing season 2, in that it got more serious and tried to establish a more of a sci-fi storyline, and we didn't get enough of the humor that we got for the most part in season 3.
Yeah. No, but the storyline itself lended that cliffhanger to have to be a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
So I thought it worked out all right. But again, as Harry is wont to say, the way things are going, this is the bullshit.
But at least they have to give us a season 4, right?
Oh, we have to have season 4.
Now that we've got a definite cliffhanger.
Yes.
Because I have not heard if they've renewed it for season 4.
I mean, my gosh, we have to know. How does Harry and his son reconcile the situation?
Yeah. Well, honestly, all the other cliffhangers I could care less about.
Yeah.
Because they're all too serious.
Yeah, they get a little too serious, touchy-feely.
Yeah. I don't care about, I hate to say this because it makes me sound terrible. I don't care about the lost baby.
No, not
Really
really.
don't care.
The sheriff's love interest.
Now,
That's intriguing.
well, because he's funny. He's still funny.
I like that the sheriff and Harry are the show.
Yes. Yes.
The doofus mayor, he could have stayed away. Just leaving his hot wife there, that's fine.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. Again, I have not seen an official word on season 4, but I've got to assume that they're going to go through with it.
Yeah, sorry. Bring 4 back and just let Tudyk run wild.
Yep. Because that's what I liked about the beginning.
The first season.
And season 3.
Yes. Tudyk was allowed to just be goofy as hell.
Yep. So, do you give it a rating? Are you going to give it a rating? I think I dropped mine from 3.5 to 3 because I didn't like that last episode.
Overall, it was a solid 3. It had potential to be a 3.5, but there were bits and pieces where it just got a little, really, why? But definitely worth watching. It's a big rebound from season 2.
That I agree with completely. Yeah. All right. In terms of other stuff, this is where it's going to get a little bit quick and hazy. Now, starting next week, we will start delving into Dead Boy Detectives on Netflix. Of course, Dead Boy Detectives links into, in the TV universe, originally Doom Patrol.
Yes.
But since Max doesn't care about that stuff anymore.
Max bailed on the good stuff and they went with their bullshit reality crap.
Yep. So now Netflix has picked up Dead Boy Detectives, pulling it into the Sandman universe. So all that Vertigo stuff from DC Comics linked together. So we'll start getting into that. Eventually, maybe we'll start watching Parish on AMC.
Potentially.
I don't want to. I know, again, how much you guys love Giancarlo Esposito. It's not him.
It's just the writing and the story is bad.
Generic, typical crime stuff so far.
And what channel had that one?
AMC. Which
is disappointing because they have done some really edgy shit.
Well, we just did Monsieur Spade.
Yeah.
Which we loved. Loved. Now, I will probably give this, I'm about an episode and a half in. I'll probably give it another episode or two to see if it gets better. But right now, there's nothing to make it stand out. from your generic, ordinary, I was out and they pulled me back in crime stuff. Now, of course, my Apple TV Plus 3-month free trial is coming to an end, so I am going to pull the plug on that. Although I have been watching a ton this week to make up for the fact that it's free.
Did they drop all episodes of Sugar, or are they going week by week screwing you?
Yeah, so I'll get to watch. I'm through 4 now. I'll get to watch the 5th. And unless something ridiculously extraordinary happens in the 5th to keep me interested, I told you about my misgivings about where I think they're going with this.
Yeah.
Now, episode 4 did not build on that. It was kind of a bridge episode where it was kind of just laying more of the foundation of the actual crime that Sugar is investigating. So I will be able to watch episode 5 before I cancel.
And unless 5 is epic.
Yeah, unless 5 is... And
enough
Jennifer
to
Aniston
give you,
is naked in it. I don't know if I'm keeping it.
Then you wouldn't add
Now, there is
month.
enough. I will say this. There's enough where if I had to spend the $10 to keep it for another month, some other stuff I want to watch, I would like to finish up Legacy of Monsters Monarch. Now I'm halfway through the first season on that. That's a little bit disappointing as well. I figured there's no way in hell they've got to have some sort of a limited budget. You're not going to get the balls to the wall monster stuff.
Well, no, you can't.
So you get little snippets every episode. It seems like you get about a minute of the big, huge special effects monster stuff. And then it's more about the humans behind the scenes running Monarch and their interaction with the federal government.
So, as my youngest likes to point out, why ruin a great monster movie with all the human interaction?
Exactly.
We want to see the monsters and the battles.
Exactly. Now, the great thing about Monarch is that you get that dual role between Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Playing the younger and the older version of the same character, which is great. And Kurt Russell, there's something about Kurt Russell that he just pops up on the screen and you just get sucked right in. He's got that charisma.
He had that charisma from his early Disney movies.
But how little he does. Maybe that's the secret. Don't throw yourself out there in 5 movies a year like a Liam Neeson.
Yeah,
or a Jason Statham.
Do one every couple years.
Yeah. Because outside of what recently, Bone Tomahawk, and that's probably going on 10 years old.
Yeah, and then it was Hateful Eight.
Yeah, he was in Hateful Eight, but that's a while back too.
That's been a while.
Yeah. But he is just one of those actors.
And before that, what was it? Sky High?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He does not do a lot of work. So when you get him, like you do in Monarch, you just get sucked in. It's like, oh my God, Kurt Russell, I forgot how he's got
damn
that
good
magnetism, that charisma. So that's another reason I would consider paying $10 to keep it for another month to finish up Monarch, because I believe I mentioned here recently, Monarch has been renewed for season 2. The other, now maybe you would know something about this one. The other show on there on Apple that I am intrigued to watch is Gary Oldman in Slow Horses.
Oh God, that looks like it could be phenomenal.
Because that's based on Mick Herron's book series.
Yeah.
The Slough House. I think I'm saying that right.
I think so. That looks like it could be.
See, that's the other one. And there is an M. Night Shyamalan series from back when they first started called Servant that I want to watch. So if it kicks over and renews, it wouldn't be the worst thing. I will say that. This is the same thing I did with Paramount. I waited and waited until they built up enough content where it made it worth my while. Now I'm getting rid of Paramount. Going back to music for a second. I'm getting rid of Paramount, but I'm keeping it for one more month because I am going to watch Bob Marley. One Love.
I want to see it. I don't want to pick up frickin' Paramount.
Let me watch it. I've started it. I'm half an hour in. Hold off. Hold off. Hold off.
Because this is one Mrs. C and I were going to wait for streaming.
It might end up on
be.
Amazon. It seems like there's a deal between Max, Paramount Plus, and Amazon
where it eventually will filter down.
Where Amazon picks up their movies after about 6 months. So if you can wait,
I can wait. I am in no hurry.
You might end up getting Bob Marley on Amazon in the fall or the early winter.
Yeah, I'm in no hurry to watch.
You shouldn't be, from what I've seen so far. But the other reason I'm keeping Paramount Plus, going back to music, at the beginning of May, new episodes of Behind the Music dropping on Paramount Plus exclusively, the old MTV show.
Yeah.
One in particular, Wolfgang Van Halen. I gotta watch that. I've got to watch that. Oh, and by the way, if you would like to indulge, you have Netflix.
Yes.
Brand new hour-long documentary just hit Netflix this past week. Duran Duran. There is something you should know. So I started watching that as well. That's very interesting. A little bit claustrophobic in that a lot of the interviews they do with the band are in a car.
Oh, jeez.
But they do have the 4 remaining original members. Of course, the 5th member his health is not good.
No.
So that's something else I've been delving into. A lot of music stuff.
Intriguing.
On Max on May the 10th, this will be a future movie review for us. Finally dropping on Max on May the 10th, The Iron Claw. Zac Efron in the story of the Von Erichs.
Yes.
The legendary Von Erich family. Bad news on the Netflix front. We are getting season 2 of that 90s show. But Mila Kunis says no Kelso or Jackie in season 2. They will not appear.
You know, that's okay. I'm fine with that.
Good news for you. We talked about Fallout. Already renewed for season 2.
As it should have been with the cliffhanger it gave us.
And The Witcher, I know you don't care. We'll get to Henry Cavill in a minute. The Witcher will return for a 5th and final season.
Yeah, it better be a final season with the crap they pulled for replacing Cavill.
But don't we blame Warner Brothers for that?
Yeah, Warner Brothers.
For basically
bringing him in as Superman for the end of Black Adam, alluding that he was going to continue in that role. And they say, oh, no, you're not. Bye-bye. After he bailed on The Witcher.
Yep.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Horrendous decision. And shame on the producers of The Witcher for not saying, sorry, Hemsworth, you're out. We're bringing Cavill in to finish it off.
And then finally, just for me, this could... I don't understand how NCIS can have all these permutations and FBI can have all these Chicago sanitation coming next fall, I guess, with PD and fire and med, but somehow CSI cannot sustain anymore. CSI Vegas has been canceled by CBS. I gotta believe that's gonna bring an end to the CSI franchise.
I would think
I
love
the CSI franchise.
And here CBS has been hyping up the whole NCIS 1000th episode. They're doing the behind the stories and all these tribute shows. Okay. It's entertaining.
Well, now you've told me you do watch the original, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just a little bitter, and I know CSI was the first to do it after Law and Order. I'm sorry, Law and Order was the
Law and
original.
Order was the original, the granddaddy of that
Right.
particular.
But for some reason, CSI has been the one franchise that has not been able to sustain, like Law and Order and NCIS and now FBI and all.
I don't know why they're pushing FBI. It's not that good, and then adding the other two. Why? I tried Chicago PD once. It was crap, and I haven't bothered with the others.
Well, yeah, I'm setting my DVR for the fall for FBI Des Moines. So thank you. I've got a show coming up tomorrow night, 2 shows on Monday.
All right, Shecky.
All right, let's move on to books. Let's do some reading for the kids. How about that?
Sure, go for it. I'm not.
Yes, you do. You're the one that told me you'd take part in this.
All right. What
But
are
I
we
do
doing?
have a full book review first.
Okay. I do not have a full book review.
But
I've been replaying Red Dead Redemption 2 on my PS5.
Oh, Jesus. So the one time you decide to not read a book, that's all right. Let me give you a little background here. I have been obsessed lately with classic detectives, specifically one Philip Marlowe. Now, I have watched here a couple weeks ago, went back again, watched the old Marlowe with James Garner. Over the last few years, I have watched Liam Neeson as Marlowe. I have read the book that was based on, The Black-Eyed Blonde. I have also read a couple books that different authors have put together featuring Philip Marlowe. I just started the fourth of those 4 books, Joe Ide's The Goodbye Coast, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the third book, the most recent, just came out in 2023, is The Second Murderer, written by Denise Mina. Now, this is set in the classic era of Philip Marlowe, where he is just getting over solving a case that he does not feel quite right about. Something is off. Everybody's congratulating him. He found the killer. He found the murderer.
But did he?
A couple old school second tier cowboy actors. One killed another. Then he gets sucked into the typical Philip Marlowe case that Raymond Chandler would have had set up. The rich
dame coming off the hill.
Yep, the rich aristocratic family in the hills of Hollywood.
The dame walked through the door with the slit in her skirt and her silk-covered gams.
This is the kind of stuff I love. Now, remember, a woman wrote this one, so you don't get quite that type of language, but she does a very good job of basically sticking to the Philip Marlowe
hitting the noir
formula,
style,
if you want to call it that. There are a couple little things she does that I'm not a fan of. Now, she's Scottish, so she likes to change the spelling of certain words.
Okay.
Like tire.
Tyre.
Yes. Loves to do tyre when she's talking about the tires on a car. That type of thing. The other thing is she works in a lot of the gay and lesbian underground.
Of course.
Not to
Check
the point
box.
Not to the point where it's completely distracting, but it gets close. It gets really close. So that being said, this one is more similar to The Black-Eyed Blonde in that you got your typical Philip Marlowe in his realm in the 40s and the 50s.
Yeah.
Now, I reviewed a book recently where the author projected Marlowe into the 80s and the 90s as an old man down in Mexico.
Right.
Tracking down a scam artist who faked his own death, killed someone so he could get away with an insurance scam.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned the one I'm reading right now by Joe Ide. His series is the IQ series.
Okay, yeah.
He took on a couple years ago the task of doing a Philip Marlowe book. Like I said, I'm 50 pages in. Some of it I absolutely love. Some of it I'm not so sure about. But he has reimagined Philip Marlowe in present day LA as a 30-year-old detective.
Ooh, that's intriguing.
Again, some of it works very, very well. Some of it
not so much.
I'm wondering if Joe Ide is a fan of Psych, is all I'll say right now.
Oh, no.
Because there's a lot of the father-son. Father is an old school retired detective
and
lost his wife. The kid dropped out of police school.
I've heard
of
it
the
both
academy,
ways.
and it decided to go his own way. So that part of it, very similar to Psych. Now, on the flip side, he makes this Marlowe is not jokey, a lot more cynical, a lot harder edged.
Okay, then
Doesn't put up
Spencer
doesn't put up with bullshit. So yeah, there's a little bit of Spencer in there too. It's almost like, in some ways, a Spencer transplanted as a young man to the West Coast.
Yeah. No, I meant Sean Spencer, the character
not
from
that
Psych.
Spencer, right? No, the father-son dynamic reminds me of that's Sean Spencer. Some of the other grittier stuff reminds me of the Boston Spencer,
the Robert B. Parker character.
Right. So, little preview for you there. I'll have that in a couple weeks for you here on the weekend edition. But The Second Murderer by Denise Mina, again, the newest of the four that I have read or am reading. Solid 3, Frenzies.
All right, there we go.
So now our other little reading project involves our favorite author, James Lee Burke, who's got a full-fledged, finally, Dave Robichaux mystery, or should we say Cleet Purcell mystery.
Yes. I actually picked up the arc at a conference I was at.
The Galley? Is that what
Yes.
Oh, fuck you! Really? That means he got an advanced copy, kids! Bullshit!
I haven't started it
They
yet.
call it ARC? Now they call them ARCs?
Advanced Reader Copy.
See, when I worked at Walden Books, it was a Galley.
Yeah, they call them galleys or arcs.
Oh, God damn it! Oh, now you're going to have that hanging over my head for months! This is not fair. This is an injustice to society and the maestro in particular.
So you don't want it?
Are you going to loan it to me when you're done?
Yeah.
Are you?
I'm giving it to you when I'm done with it.
No, you don't have to give it to me. I know you don't like keeping books, but still, that's above and beyond the pale.
I'm a giver.
That's what she said. Boy, is your tongue tired. Wow. You are a lucky human being. Oh, my God. They've already got the Galley out.
Yeah, that was the one I was looking for when I was at the conference.
Wow.
And there it was.
Cool. Very cool.
And yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about Galleys is they are not the final editions.
They are not. There could
tweaks. It could be some changes. So that's always interesting as well.
Yes, it is. But Harbor Lights, the short story collection.
Just put this out in January. A couple news stories, but of course, most of them, just like with Stephen King, when he puts out his short story collections, stories that he's put out in various magazines, publications, websites, whatever it might be. So James Lee Burke's Harbor Lights has a collection like this. So we're going to kind of do it piecemeal.
Yes.
Probably my fault. I'll take the hit on this because I'm kind of wanting to read a book. And so when I get into short stories, I tend to read one, then go, okay, I'm going to go away read a book
Next.
now.
Yeah.
But we have both gotten through the first two stories in Harbor Lights. The title story, I guess you'd call it, Harbor Lights, and Going Across Jordan.
Yep. So Harbor Lights taking place along the Louisiana Gulf Coast, where you would kind of expect him to start out, taking place during World War II. And where are the German U-boats? So, interesting father-son story dynamic.
And the government gets
And
involved.
Rule 1, never trust the government.
Can I ask you a question? If we go back to Dixie City Jam, do you remember that particular Robichaux book involving a sunken U-boat?
Yeah, where during the hurricanes and the tides, it pulls up off the bottom and resurfaces. And
Do you think this is the same U-boat?
I would probably guarantee it.
So there's a connection here. That's when I was reading this, that was the only thing I couldn't get that out of my mind.
Yeah. Is this the
Because
one that
Dixie City Jam, I got that on cassette, audiobook on cassette, and that's what hooked me. Where I bought the book, read the book, started reading all the books, had to go back to the Neon Rain and read through all of them. But that has always stuck with me since that was the
the
first
U-boat
book.
floating out off the Gulf?
Yes, and now it comes back, and it's like, is this the same damn U-boat?
It's the way Burke writes. Yes, it is. You have to say yes, a definitive yes,
Yep.
because he ties things together
Yep.
in a very cool way.
Yep. Just wanted verification from a fellow fan.
Yes, that's the impression I got.
Now, did you, with Harbor Lights, the story, did you get the impression that maybe we needed a little more?
Yeah,
This seemed a
this
little perfunctory to me, even as a short
even
story.
as a short story, it had too abrupt of an ending. I know they're supposed to leave things unanswered,
Mm-hmm.
but this one finished sooner than it should have.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because that's how I felt as well.
We needed about another 2.5 pages, maybe, to tie it up.
Yep.
So, yeah, usually you get the lead on your imagination goes, it was too open ended.
Yep. So, 3 frenzies.
Yeah.
Then the other story that we've got for you out of Harbor Lights is Going Across Jordan, which features a couple of drifters, one a unionizer,
Yep.
one
Another
running from the law.
trying to make their way in Dust Bowl, America, through the Depression.
Yep, going from basically the lower Midwest to the upper Midwest.
Yeah, and being driven out as they go for doing stupid things that they should know better.
Well, of course, the one, as we mentioned, unionizer, cannot resist putting
Stirring
out
the pot.
pamphlets and trying to get people to organize. And the other one, the typical James Lee Burke character.
The flawed, loyal.
Yep, always seems to find bad luck and trouble, to quote another great author.
Yes. Yeah.
I will say this. This is almost to me the opposite of Harbor Lights, in that even though this is a short story, this story encompasses everything that is great about James Lee Burke.
I couldn't agree more. The whole flawed characters trying to do the right thing and still screwing it up.
Yep, you've got jealousy, you've got a potential love triangle that maybe isn't a love triangle,
It's
but your main
perceived by
protagonist.
one who's got his own demons that he's battling and
Right.
self-esteem issues. And
Right, and you've got the corruption of Hollywood coming into play and the crooked law enforcement. And I thought this was...
And a slight supernatural feel to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, alluded to at the beginning, followed through at the end.
Yeah.
And that's, again, typical 100% James Lee Burke. And this one, I get a 4. I give this a 4 frenzies.
This one is a 4.
For a short story, this was a phenomenal read.
Yeah, it encapsulated so much in a condensed, packed.
You and I have our books that we would recommend to people. White Doves at Morning.
Yeah.
You know, that he's written, obviously, a lot of the Robichaux books. But if you had somebody who didn't have the time to read a full book, I would tell them, read Going Across Jordan. It's what, 40, 50, 60 pages?
Yeah. It encapsulates what a great writer he is.
Yep.
The vision he has, being the wordsmith.
The descriptions of,
oh my God,
the mountains and the cherry orchards and everything is just,
it's classic.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So we'll have more down the road.
Yep,
more of these short stories.
Our way through it,
and then eventually we'll get to, again, Cleet. Now you just give me a body blow telling me you've got the preview. That's oh my God. I screwed up the sports edition because I tried to end it before we talked about NASCAR. Now you got me completely off my game. Now knowing that you've already got Cleet months ahead of time. I guess we'll have to move on to movies. I have to keep trudging forward with you.
That's right, you do.
All right, let's do the movie news first, and then we'll do the reviews.
All right.
Real quick stuff. Now, you and I, for the most part, like Quentin Tarantino's movies. They're hit and miss.
When he's on, he is fantastic.
They're interesting.
Yeah.
Well, he's making a big fucking deal about, this is going to be my 10th and final movie.
Okay.
Number one, tells you an arrogant prick, Only 10 movies, and he's considered a legendary filmmaker. But his 10th movie, he had all set up, I guess, was supposed to be called The Movie Critic, starred Brad Pitt. Well, like an impetuous child, he said, no, I'm done. I'm not doing that one. I got to figure something else out for my 10th movie. So he's going back to the drawing board. This is the kind of stuff that drives me crazy with musicians.
Dumbass, don't pigeonhole yourself in to anything.
His career has not been that phenomenal.
No,
he's got to overthink his final movie.
Yeah, he doesn't. Just make a damn movie.
Hey, we saw Death Proof.
Oh my God. Oh.
Okay. We love Planet Terror with Rose McGowan and the machine gun leg. But
Death Proof was
with the great Kurt Russell again. Screaming like a child, a girl.
Yeah. Just was not well executed.
No.
Poorly directed.
And I did not think his last one was all that good. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So.
Yeah. He's very hit and miss.
New trailers out there for kids for you to watch. Deadpool and Wolverine, the new trailer, the new full trailer is out there.
Oh my God, this looks like it's going to be fun.
And then we have a couple trailers from the Shyamalan clan. Because believe it or not, yes, nepotism reigns in Hollywood.
A Nepo producer.
So, of course, M. Night
Director
Shyamalan's daughter is now got
in
her
the
own movie
game.
coming out called The Watchers. Not sure how I feel about this one. I saw the trailer for it. But Dad looks like he's got a winner
Yes, Trap.
with Trap.
Yeah,
He gives you a twist in the trailer. So you got to figure there's another one coming.
There's gonna be more. Oh man.
I will leave it at that, kids. It revolves around a concert.
Yep, father takes his young daughter to a show that's surrounded by the police and will just let it run there.
And then finally, before we get to our movie reviews, I thought Dave would like this. Our great number one screen icon right now, Ryan Gosling, as he's doing his press for The Fall Guy. Somebody asked him, why wasn't there ever a sequel to The Nice Guys? So you know I was in. When I saw that, I was like, I gotta read this.
I need to know. What is the reason?
Ryan Gosling says it's very simple. We opened on the wrong weekend. We were, quote, destroyed by the Angry Birds movie. And because we couldn't get the box office that got, they did not even consider going forward with the sequel.
Oh, come on!
That's what he says. Now,
that's Hollywood stupidity right there.
One more thing. Not trying to draw this out, but now The Nice Guys, one of my favorite movies of all time. I convinced Dave and his boys to watch it. They loved it.
Brilliant.
You know, I'm getting old. I am getting old. I'll admit it. But something that they mentioned in this story about The Nice Guys bothers me. And maybe I'm just forgetting this, even though I've seen the movie 6 or 7 times. Maybe you will know what they're talking. A Robert Downey Jr. cameo? Do you remember that? I don't remember that. And again, I've seen this movie half a dozen times. I do not remember Robert Downey Jr. in this movie. It would make sense. It would make sense because he was in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang,
Yeah.
which was also done by Shane Black.
Oh,
just something we can discuss later on, but I had to ask you.
I may have to rewatch it because it could have been at the party.
That's what I thought too, but I cannot place him.
Or was it at the car show?
Again, can't place him. It would have to have been something really quick. Real
quick, or they had the makeup to
Tons
the
of
point
makeup.
where
Yep.
That's the only thing I could maybe see. Those two scenes.
It would have to have been those
two scenes.
Yep. I didn't delve into it any further.
So, yeah,
but it makes sense again based on his history with Shane Black. All right, so we have got to talk about Henry Cavill. A double shot of Henry Cavill for you this week. Dave will take the lead because, of course, he has got the theatrical release.
The in theaters now. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Based on a true story. As Winston Churchill's papers were declassified, it came out. He took it upon himself to work with a couple of folks from the Navy, including one Ian Fleming, to put together a unit to destroy the U-boat supply chain, to help make sure the American soldiers and all the supplies could safely cross the Atlantic. Holy crap, was this a fun flick. And keep in mind, based on a true story, and at the end, they go through the characters and say, what they did during the rest of the war and the things they were doing. So yes, these people actually existed, which made it that much cooler. And the lead, played by Cavill, was alluded to being one of the prime inspirations to Ian Fleming for James Bond. Just the cavalier, do whatever the hell it takes. So, and it's a fun romp. Classic action based in World War II, killing Nazis. So much fun. And this is Cavill's least serious role.
Well, that's the thing. When you mention the James Bond comparison, the previews make it look like he's borderline maniacal.
Oh, yeah, he's freaking psycho. He's nuts. And he just has so much fun. And you can tell Cavill enjoys the character. And Alan Ritchson.
When was the last time he got to let loose?
Exactly.
He's always playing the buttoned up.
Yeah, the serious.
Yes, well, there's Superman, the Man from U.N.C.L.E.,
The Witcher.
Yep.
This one, he just lets loose. It's comic. It has everything you want in a Guy Ritchie action movie. And Ritchie again delivers with the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Cast is well put together. Solid 3.5 frenzies.
Very good.
It's enjoyable. I cannot wait for it to come out to get it to watch again.
Yep. We discussed something else. Guy Ritchie's fantastic. I don't think he gets enough credit because
soundtrack. The soundtrack, again, Ritchie puts together solid soundtracks for his movies.
Between The Gentleman, the movie, the TV series, and of course the old school stuff, Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah.
Rarely misfires. Rarely.
His biggest misfire was marrying Madonna.
Yeah. But I think he ended up on the right side of that, though, in terms of finances.
Yes, he did.
But I just happened to mention to you, this was a week where you were off, and I did the review on Sports Frenzy, and I told you how disappointed I was with Operation Fortune. Ruse de Guerre.
Right.
I don't know how that's a Guy Ritchie movie compared to all his other work. It's just such a boring letdown. I just thought I'd put that out there.
Well, there you go. Everybody has one.
Yep. But the Madonna. I like the Madonna. Yeah, that's his greatest flop. And again, still made money.
Yep. Yes, he did.
Oh, Hollywood accounting. Gotta love it. All right. I also have a Henry Cavill movie. Yes, as I mentioned, I still have my Apple TV Plus free trial for another few days. So I got to watch Argylle.
Ah, yes.
The much touted, much hyped Matthew Vaughn adventure. Of course, Matthew Vaughn, responsible for the 3 Kingsman movies, which to varying degrees I think we liked.
Yeah.
Argylle ain't the Kingsman. There are so many problems with this movie.
Too farcical.
Yeah, you want to like it. You really want to like it. Sam Rockwell's awesome. Sam Rockwell is the most underrated actor out there because he's not a Henry Cavill. He's not a good-looking, built, stacked guy. He's just the everyday schlub who we can all relate to, who still kicks ass and takes names, but he's very snarky as he does it. He saves this movie. Henry Cavill and John Cena are barely in this movie.
That's disappointing based on what you see in the trailers.
A lot of people online point that out and say they don't get much more screen time than what you see in the trailers.
then what's
because
the point?
they are the literary characters. The background to Argylle is
Well,
Bryce
yeah.
Dallas Howard is an author. And at the beginning, it's really irritating because they like to jump back and forth between the characters in the book and the characters and what's going on in real life. Cavill and Cena play partners as portrayed in the book, and this is how she visualizes them. The characters is Cavill is Argylle, and Cena is his sidekick, his tech guy. And at the beginning, it's awesome because they get to fight Dua Lipa. She pretty. She pretty. And then that's all you get from Dua Lipa. I'm like, oh, come on. Good old Henry Cavill, though, gets to spin her around in what they call the whirly bird. So,
yes.
yeah. He's got some good tang going on there, let's say. But then it becomes the whole, okay, what's reality? What's fake? What's the story? What's the book and what's actually happening in real life? I don't want to spoil anything.
More of a farcical Romancing the Stone.
I wouldn't even say it's that. It's just one of those where you get the big plot twist and you go, okay, is that really believable? Because it looks like they're going down the path where they're going to tell you that Sam Rockwell is actually Agent Argylle, and they're going to try to explain that and how that works. And then it actually takes another twist that's more implausible. And then Samuel L. Jackson comes in as a disgraced, I believe, former head of the CIA. And the problem with the movie is it lacks the, how do I put this? The dirty, gritty nastiness of the Kingsman movies, where it doesn't want to push things that far. As we've talked about in the past.
It's more of the PC.
Yeah, it's a PG-13 version versus an R-rated version, and I think it needed that extra level of debauchery. And I blame Bryce Dallas Howard for this. I do. Because I love her. She's cute for a heavy-set woman, very attractive, but at a point in the movie, she starts to do a lot of action stuff that you just go, no way in holy hell is she going to be able to do that. She's a little hefty. And I'm not one to speak, but I'm not in a major action movie like she is.
There you go.
So, yeah, it's just implausible. It doesn't have enough of an edge to it that it needed, especially coming from Matthew Vaughn. Not enough Henry Cavill, not enough John Cena, not enough Dua Lipa. So I can only give Argylle 2 frenzies. I really wanted to like it, which seems to be the sentiment of a lot of people out there. Really wanted to like it.
It looked like it had potential to be a decent flick.
But it just falls flat.
But
I do want to point out one other thing about Henry Cavill before we move on. There is a reason why you should never read comments on any of these websites you go to for your news. And on occasion, yes, I will slide down the page
just to see what the trolls have to say.
On one of the box office websites that I go to see what's expected to make good money this weekend, what they're thinking is going to flop. They were talking about the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. In one of the comments, this is where our society is right now. One of the comments is, I am so tired of Henry Cavill, toxic masculinity.
Oh, for the love of God.
I'm like, shut the fuck up.
You moronic
snowflake.
Twit.
You are either a dude who's intimidated by a good-looking guy like him, or you're a woman who's intimidated by a good-looking guy like him. I won't understand, and I never will understand this concept of toxic masculinity. This is how you drive men down and say, you shouldn't do guy things. You should basically be a woman with a dick. And we've got enough of them in collegiate sports right now. So
there you go.
Take toxic masculinity
and
take
shove it where it don't shine.
Yes. All right, so this isn't so much as a story time, because technically by the rules of Sports Frenzy, story time would imply that I've seen the movie before, and I swear I cannot remember ever seeing the movie before. Now, this also ties into our Oscar discussion here recently.
Right, classic films that you have yet to see.
Right, so I watched In the Heat of the Night, and I said I've got to watch Ben-Hur, which that... Well, I will take care of that at a future date. But
that's an epic to build up to.
And it's a long movie.
Yes,
a long movie.
Very long movie.
But the other one was The Sting. So, I watched The Sting, directed by George Roy Hill, won a ton of awards, ton of Oscars, featuring the ridiculously charismatic duo of Paul Newman and Robert Redford. Also featured Robert Shaw, who I love beyond belief. Though, always going to remember him for "We're Going to Need a Bigger Boat." But always great to have him in a movie.
Yep.
Charles Durning is in this.
It's a hell of a cast.
I don't think it translates well to modern day. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it. But it was
trying to play.
But again, it was kind of like In the Heat of the Night. The same feeling I got from it was, I get it for the time period. Now, I think I liked In the Heat of the Night actually more.
Really?
Because that's more my genre of the mystery and the police procedural. I think to me, The Sting is overwrought in that I'm supposed to believe all these different people are in on this massive scam.
It's too much.
Scam. It's too much. It's even more than that. It's too much. Where they're building betting parlors, and how many dozens of people are in on it, and they're going to figure out a way to split all the money between all these people, and it's
not necessarily about splitting the money. It's taking down a common enemy.
I get that.
Everybody involved has been screwed over in one way or another.
You don't get that. You know, a couple people involved have been. Specifically Robert Redford and his friend, because they lost the third of their trio in a violent way at the hands of Robert Shaw's gangster. And I get that. But to believe all these other dozens of people are just going to jump in on this, well, yeah, we're going to make a lot of money. I just, there's something off about it to me. It's too much. It's way, way too much for me to believe. And I'm sorry.
Sometimes you have to suspend disbelief.
The earlier, grittier moments, the simpler cons, the simpler grifts, I liked. I got that. And then there is a nice twist towards the end, involving somebody sent to kill Robert Redford's character. But then they got to go over and above with that. Oh, now we got a fake FBI agent involved in the whole damn thing. And I'm sorry, kids. This movie is from the early 70s, so if you haven't seen it by now, I'm spoiling things. That's on you.
It is over the top, and it was meant to be an over the top.
It's like Charles Durning and Robert Shaw are the only two people in the damn movie who aren't in on the thing. It's too much. It's too much. It's likable, and I love Newman and Redford. It's too much. I will give it 2.5 out of respect for the cast. It's well executed for what it is. Another thing. When did Eileen Brennan become a hot babe?
She wasn't.
She's sleeping with Paul Newman.
Yeah, well.
Come on. No, I'm sorry. It did not connect with me like I thought it would. It really didn't.
I'm disappointed on that.
Again, 2.5 frenzies out of respect for the cast, for the effort, but just too much. Way too much going on. Way too much going on. And I
stick with the two of them going to Bolivia.
Yeah, there you go. Jumping off cliffs. So at some point I will watch Ben-Hur to complete my 3 movies that have won Best Picture that I have never seen. 2 of them, check mark. Ben-Hur eventually.
And it's been so long since I've seen Ben-Hur, but it's one that you kind of have to for being a Charlton Heston fan.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to see it just for Heston.
Yeah.
Get your paws off me, you damn dirty ape! Kids, that's not from Ben-Hur. Okay?
No, it's not.
All right. Before I move on, Dave, have I forgotten anything? I don't want to repeat the same mistake I made earlier this week.
I think we've got it all.
All right.
Now we can move on.
All right, let's move on to Moments of Silence. And of course, we have a massive loss in the world of rock and roll. One of my personal favorite bands. And now it's to the point where almost all of the core members are gone. I think all of them are from the Allman Brothers Band.
Yeah.
We've lost Dwayne, obviously, years and years and years ago. And then we lost Greg. Luckily, we saw him once live.
Yeah. What was it, a year and a half before he passed?
Yep. And now we have lost Dickie Betts.
Yep.
Well-respected guitarist, well-respected songwriter throughout the world of rock and roll. And so, of course, I had to go out and listen to a ton of Allman Brothers this past weekend. Some stuff that I had not listened to. Some of their lost, forgotten albums that fell between the cracks.
Yeah.
From the late 70s and early 80s. Reach for the Sky was one of them. So I just wanted to take in I know Jessica and I know Whip and Post and all that stuff, but I just want to listen to some of the other music that he had put together with Greg and the other members of the band. But we've talked about it ever since we pretty much started this podcast. With our age group, this is what's going to happen now.
Yeah, all the bands and singers and performers that we grew up with, they're going to start dropping.
Yeah. So thoughts and prayers to the legion of Allman Brothers fans out there, family and friends, of course, of Dickie Betts.
Yep.
Now, one other one before we move on to our 4 nominees for Pop Culture Badass. Not Badass.
Dumbass.
I don't have a badass.
No badass this week.
No. The original Battlestar Galactica. What was his name? Was it Corporal Ty, Lieutenant Ty? Yeah. Also played in McCloud. That would be Terry Carter. Terry Carter passed away here recently. All right, so as I mentioned,
those character actors.
Yes. Yep, and of course the 70s being our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
With McCloud and with Battlestar Galactica, the original.
The original.
Yep. All right, as I mentioned, awkwardly, no Clint Eastwood badasses of the week.
No, but we pivot to determine which of these
Four
nominees
nominees.
who will be our Red Foreman dumbass of the week.
Now, there is a pattern here. I will admit 3 of the 4 are, as you would expect, probably pompous, arrogant, clueless Hollywood actors or actresses. So let's start off with the big picture dumbass. This one scares me. This is a scary dumbass. And this is an entire group of government.
Yeah.
Now, I do not smoke. I have never smoked. I will never smoke. I find it a disgusting and dirty habit. And I was happy beyond belief when states across the United States banned smoking in indoor areas, because I never thought that was right. I never thought that was fair. Smokers say, what about our rights? Other people have a right to breathe clean air. So I'm putting that out there right now. That's my stance on smoking, is that you should not be allowed to smoke in a public place indoors, because your freedom to smoke does not give you the right to infringe on the rights of others to breathe regular air. That being said, we could be heading down a very dangerous path in Great Britain. British Parliament has initially passed a bill to outlaw smoking outright for anyone born after 2009. And again, you're not going to find anybody more adamantly against smoking in public places than me. But if we start going down this road,
dictate
what people do in the privacy of their own homes, if you want to smoke and burn up your lungs and kill yourself early, that's your choice. But to say you can't smoke in your own house,
that is wrong. Absolute
because
crap.
You know what's going to happen next.
They're going to outlaw
alcohol. But somehow, I wonder though if this counts pot. Or is it just tobacco? Are they going to be selective now and say, well, we don't want to upset the hippies and take away their marijuana, but tobacco we don't want?
Because marijuana has medicinal purposes.
Oh,
bullshit.
Fuck the hippies.
Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.
I am scared to death by this. And it's a scary, dumbass move.
Yes, it is.
Because again,
screw the government. They do not have the right to infringe upon people that way.
If people want to do this to themselves, let them do this to themselves. As long as it doesn't affect anybody else in the privacy of their own home, let them smoke a pack a day, 10 packs a day. I don't care. As long as they're not doing it where it impacts somebody else's health. But they're going to say, well, it's driving up the healthcare costs for the country.
Yeah.
So is obesity.
Yeah.
So is alcohol. Like Dave said, they're going to start banning fast food.
Where does it stop? No.
Big Brother needs to be stopped. And if this goes through, watch out. All right, let's move on to the 3 Hollywood dumbasses. And then we can decide if we're going to go with the serious issue or one of these 3 out-of-touch celebrities. And this one, the first one, will shock you. I guarantee this, Dave, it will shock you. Because you talked about him earlier. Stars in one of our favorite TV shows. I did not realize he was such a raging douchebag dumbass in real life. And that is one Alan Ritchson.
Yeah, he's a fucknut.
Alan Ritchson, in a recent interview, like to say things about the way the country is going, like, and direct quote,
yes,
cops get away with murder all the time. Trump is a rapist. And then Alan Ritchson responding to the Fraternal Order of Police as they rip into him for his comments about the police. Alan Ritchson pats himself on the back, says, "I'm a very brave man for speaking out about the police like I do."
No, Alan, you are a dumbass. Shut up and entertain us. That's what you get paid for.
Yeah, I did not realize he was this far of a raging nutbag.
Yeah, that's a lot's been coming out of late since he's gaining more
Becoming a
a
bigger star.
platform. Yeah.
He's becoming a bigger star. Yeah. Well, he's not the only Hollywood celebrity out of touch, but luckily these other two are not for nearly as serious of issues or matters. I've never been a big Ben Stiller fan,
No, not really.
but
Take him or leave him.
I find it odd that he's so oblivious in a recent interview to say he was quote unquote blindsided by how much Zoolander 2 flopped. And he said it quote definitely affected me for a long time.
Dude, the first one was useless.
Who the fuck
Who thought
do we
Zoolander
know that
2 was a good idea?
do we know anybody that watched Zoolander that thought it was good that needed a sequel?
I don't know anybody who watched Zoolander.
I don't.
Or I don't know anybody who admits to watching Zoolander.
Yeah, so for him to be shocked that Zoolander 2 tanked,
That's not a surprise.
and then he's got to pull the card about it definitely affected me for a long time.
Yeah, you're an idiot. Go away.
All right, finally, out of touch celebrity number 3. And I frankly don't find her very pretty or attractive, but I guess I'm in the minority. Zendaya plays Mary Jane in the Spider-Man movies. Got this tennis romance movie coming out where supposedly there might be a 3-way thing going on. But of course, she again thinks she's the be-all end-all of the world. So in a recent interview, she had to point out that I don't understand why when I am in a scene where I kiss, with me specifically in the world, it gets a lot of attention.
Boy, are you self-centered or what?
Exactly.
Nobody cares.
I have not heard, again, just like Zoolander or Zoolander 2, I have not heard anybody tell me, wow, did you see Zendaya in that movie kissing somebody? Last time did she kiss anybody in Dune? Doesn't she have like a nose breathing thing shoved in her face throughout the entire movie?
I got nothing. Take your pick.
And again, I don't find her attractive in the least. I just don't. I thought we were getting away from the whole skinny girl thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't that unhealthy and projects a negative body image for 99% of the other women?
Supposedly.
But yeah, Zendaya's saying that all we care about is her and her kissing scenes.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I'll pass. Thank you. All right. So what are those 4? Again, not quite fair because one's a big heavy duty issue and the other 3 are Hollywood dipshits.
The one is just disturbing.
The smoking.
The smoking is just scary.
And again, Ritchson disappoints me. I didn't know about this. The fact that he was such an out and out fucknut like he is. Obviously, to me, the smoking thing is the most important.
It is. That's an egregious affront to everyone's rights. I don't think it's dumbassery. I just think it's fucking government overreach.
Yeah. See, again, I'm with you. I think Alan Ritchson is the true dumbass of the week. but in the grand global scheme of things, you got to call out the British Parliament for even thinking about pushing this forward.
That's just not
because,
right.
as we said again,
That's an
fast
egregious
food,
affront to human
alcohol,
freedoms.
all that shit's going to be on the table now.
Yeah. Nope.
All right, kids. Next week, Dead Boy Detective, Sebastian Bach, Kings of Leon, Motley Crue, a brand new Motley Crue song.
And whatever the hell else we decide we want to do.
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple movies. I will say that. I'm not committing myself yet. Nothing for us to really
commit.
Nothing that we can really watch together.
No.
Nothing like that. But
we'll find something that jumps out.
Yep. And of course, again, in 2 weeks, concert season kicks off. So looking forward to that.
Yes.
Actually,
going to be
by
very
the time
good.
Next weekend's weekend edition drops, we'll already be halfway through a rock and roll weekend.
Yep. So you are going to be in for a treat with double review.
Yep. He's the conquistador, Dave Height.
He's the maestro, Kevin Crane. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want more politically incorrect commentary, check out the sports edition. Drops on Thursdays. If not, we'll be right back here again next Saturday morning as your hangover cure. Say goodnight to the kids, Kev.
Good night to the kids, Kev.